All right, did it go now?
Are you possibly double muted?
Okay,
Okay,
someone else
sorry,
says they
go
can
right ahead.
hear me. Okay. Good. Okay, sharing screen. All right, can you see the slide?
Yes, you are all set.
Okay, so this is just a quick announcement. So Greg introduced Dita Osborne a little while back. She is our air quality specialist. She is going to be taking some of the Reg 7 monitoring data. So when there is anything that goes over, if that can be that is part of the notification to CDPHE for APCD and the local government and ECMC, that should be emailed to her. And any data should be submitted by a Form 4 sundry. We've had several consultants just email us data. It would be really helpful to have it go into our system under the location ID number. So that should go into a sundry or be sent to us by a sundry, and it will be routed to data for review and to go into the file. And all Reg 7 monitoring plans that are being submitted to APCD, if there's anything within like 2,000 feet of people or anything, a location that is of concern, we are still reviewing those and kind of doing a consultation with APCD on that side. So that was just kind of an announcement. If you could please add her to the email list for some of this and let your consultants know that the Form 4 is the best way to submit air data. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Next up, we have an announcement from Deb Racy regarding the Certificate of Liability Insurance. Go ahead, Deb.
Good morning, everyone. I just need to remind folks to resubmit their certificate of liability insurance with ECMC or Energy and Carbon Management Commission. As the certificate holder, I'm still receiving certificates, the liability insurance certificates with COGCC on them. So please notify your carriers to change the certificate holder to ECMC. Thanks, that's all I had. And that includes also when you submit them for the Form 1B, as well as individual submittals that are just being emailed in.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Deb. Next up, we have a location maintenance presentation from Mike Leonard.
Yeah, thank you. This is just a reminder to all the operators out there that have out of service wells. You still have to maintain your locations. You still have to do weed management, stormwater management, and inspect your equipment to make sure you don't have any leaks. We've had some instances here recently where there's been some issues with weed management, and some of the personnel in the field thought because it was out of service, they didn't have to take care of weeds and things like that, but you still do. So you're still responsible for all of that until that well's plugged and completely reclaimed. And that's all I had.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mike. Next up, we have a presentation from Ben Frissel for operator pre-application consultation. Take it away, Ben.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I'm trying to share my screen real quickly. I just want to let everyone know that we do have our pre-application consultation request form, and we now have it on the website. I believe it is here under the permits tab. Click that, go to permits help, And then the pre-application consultation request and the actual form is right here. You will fill that out, attach the maps, email it back to me, and we'll get something set up for you. If you have any questions, my email is right here in the actual the request form and kind of the little blurb there. So again, under permits tab, go to permits help, and that's where our pre-application meeting request form is. So, and again, any questions, feel free to email me. And that's all I had, Jenny.
All right. Thank you, Ben. Next up, we have Steven Schwartz with OGDPs using existing production facilities.
Right, and there we go. Thank you, Ben. Let's see, it's been a while, so please bear with me. All right, is the slideshow started?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. As a reminder, I'm Steven Schwartz, hearing liaison in the planning and permitting unit. I am here to talk today, just a quick follow-up to a presentation I gave back in March regarding OGDPs and existing locations and how we want those or don't want those incorporated into your OGDP applications. So as an overview, I'll go over briefly the high level from the March presentation, but what locations are included versus excluded in an OGDP application. And today I'll provide a little bit of an update, some questions we've had around handling existing facilities only locations and how those are incorporated or aren't incorporated into your OGDP applications. So again, from the March 14th operator meeting, for locations to include in OGDP, we're asking only the new locations that are having Form 2A submitted as part of the OGDP are the ones that should be included. What should be excluded are existing locations that do not have Form 2As as submitted as part of the OGDP application. And this also goes for wells. So the wells that would be included in an OGDP application would only be the new wells that would be drilled as part of that OGDP application, whether that's a new, amended, or refile well. And the ones that would be excluded would be the existing producing wells. And I would just want to say that everyone's been doing a great job with specifying in their applications the included versus excluded. And I really appreciate everyone's work in pivoting very quickly after that March meeting. But one of the questions that's come up since March has been around the following scenario. So you have this new location that you're submitting an OGDP for because you need the new Form 2A. And this is going to be a new location that's going to be wells only. Let's say location A. And then you have a location B that's an existing location that will be used as the off-location production facility for all the new wells on location A. So location A is wells only. So one of the questions that we've received is, staff, you say you don't want the existing locations in the OGDP, you want them excluded. But the commission in their commission hearings on OGDPs has made very clear they want those production emissions for all those new wells included. How do we handle this sort of conflicting requests? So what I'm going to go through today is for the 2A, 2B, 2C, and on the hearing application, how we would like to see those existing locations that are being used only for the production facilities and that are not going to have a new Form 2A partially included into the OGDP applications. So first for the Form 2A, and this is that new 2A that you're submitting for that new location A. On the Form 2A, you should include the location B as a related remote location on the location ID and local government info tab. This is pretty similar to how we've treated this even before mission change. We've always had that related remote location drop down of this location will have production facilities served at, or this location will serve as production facilities for, and that all other location to put in there. So continue to use that tab as we have in the past. For the Form 2B, this is where it starts to get a little different. You should have the location tab on the Form 2B for location A, the new one, but we also do want a location tab for that location B, that existing one. The submit tab on the Form 2B in the comment box should also explain that location B, the existing one, is included solely for use as a production facility and to represent two things. One, the production emissions related to the new wells at that new location A being permitted. And the second is also to represent any impacts at location B related to the approval of the OGDP as a whole. For example, non-road engine use for the construction equipment emissions from the equipment changeout. Now, a lot of time, these are the equipment changeouts that would occur via Form 4, not a 2A. And so we just want to make sure that we're capturing that and all of the emissions associated with the new activities of the OGDP on that single Form 2B. And then finally, for the Form 2C and hearing application, the 2C, again, should only have that location A, that new location on the Form 2C, because we're still excluding that existing location B. It's going to continue to be excluded from the OGDP. On the hearing application, the hearing application should reflect that location B is not subject to the OGDP, or it's being excluded. But it should include a note that the emissions associated with that location are being reported on the Form 2B to represent the production emissions related to the new location A and the OGDP as a whole. Now, I do want to give one alternative option that some operators have asked about, and that is, if you so choose, you may include that existing location and make it subject to the OGDP. This is entirely optional, and this is at operator's discretion, and it's not our preference. Our preference is the OGDP locations are only the locations that have the 2As being submitted with that OGDP. But we understand for whatever reasons, you might want to just include the location entirely. If that is the case, that existing location should be brought in, is being brought in, then it would be on the Form 2C, and it would be on the hearing application as a location subject to the OGDP or included in the OGDP. Additionally, if this alternative option is being taken, just a reminder that the existing location would be part of the OGDP lands for the purposes of any rule requirements with the phrasing something from the OGDP boundaries. This is for, excuse me, distance measurements. This is for notifications within X many feet of the boundaries of the OGDP, and any of the attachments that have that from the OGDP lands language. So here is all that just in a single slide. On the 2A, you're going to include that existing location as a related remote location on that location ID and local government info tab. The 2B should have both locations on it to represent both the pre-production and production at the new location, and also capturing those further production emissions from those new wells at that existing facility. The Form 2C should only have the new location, and that's it. The hearing application would also say the existing location is not subject to the OGDP, and that it's only being included for the Form 2B to represent the production emissions. And I also wanted to add a quick note here at the end. This also would apply to if you're doing the opposite, if you're proposing a new location that's going to be wells and facilities, and you have an existing location that is already wells and facilities, that you want to take the facilities away, turn that into a wells only location, and pipe all those production to that new location, you would follow this same guidance. Thank you very much. That's all I had for you today. As always, please feel free to reach out. I know every OGDP is site specific and unique, and happy to take your questions over email and really dive into specific technical questions and particularities of your situation. So thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you, Stephen. Next up, we have a presentation about engineering integrity, new and revised guidance for flow lines and tanks. Ellis and Steve, you can go ahead and take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I do not have any slides to share. I just wanted to cover some of the guidances that are available on our website, some that have been updated and some new additions. So if I can share my screen, give me 1 second. Okay, so I just want to show you where these guidances are. The first one I'm going to talk about briefly is our web form reporting guidance. And that can be found if you go to Home, Regulation Forms, Form 44, Flow Line Reporting. It is our e-form reporting process. This has been there for quite a few years, but we recently updated it to make sure that it aligned with our most current rule set. So that basically covers how to submit a Form 44. It covers the various reports that are available for use from that outline how to register, report realignments, abandonment notices, a form of off-location flow lines. It also covers a grade 1 gas leak reporting, as well as registration and removal of domestic taps. So that's that. And then if we are to go back to regulation, operator guidance, we have a couple of guidances that are here as well. This one is the most recent addition is our 609C 1101, 1102, and 1105 OOSLOT guidance. Basically, it's a guidance that outlines when OOSLOT is to be applied for either off-location flow lines or tanks and pressure vessels. It's pretty short, so you can just look through that, goes through the different status changes of your lines and when to apply OOSLOTs and what reporting requirements need to be done for that as well. And I think I skipped one. Let me go back to regulation forms. Form 44. We have one more guidance that I want to show you. And it's a little further down in our thing. So let me type in 1102. Here it is, right here. The 1102.0 flow line out of service and 1104 integrity management guidance. Now this guidance is useful for operators who may have shut in their wells for an associated or for an extended period of time. Maybe you've shut in a well for over a year. There may be some extended maintenance going on, or there are some EPA requirements that you're trying to meet. Basically, this guidance is saying that if you have shut in wells, then those associated flow lines are also shut in. We've gotten many questions from operators regarding what integrity management practices are required when flow lines are shut in or out of service. So this guidance basically covers the criteria that need to be met for operators in order for them to forego some of those requirements. We understand that if a line is out of service, you may not be able to bring it back on to pressure test it for whatever the periodic requirements are. So this guidance outlines that. So if you want more information on what these guidances entail, or you want a deeper dive, please let me know, let our team know, and we'll be happy to schedule something for you guys. So that is all I had. I can stop my share.
Awesome, thank you so much. We have an impromptu announcement from Greg regarding metals analysis.
I'm sorry. I think Stephen Wheeler also had the guidance to cover.
Oh, sorry.
I'll be out of your hair real quick here. So as part of the mission change rulemaking, we incorporated 3 tank maintenance standards by reference. One is under the Steel Tank Institute's SP 001, and then 2 under API. That'd be 653. But that 653 really only applies to the larger tanks that are designed and constructed under 650 standards. The ones that really apply to us are going to fall under 12R1. But I think the big thing for this guidance is that is just to let operators know that, hey, these guidances or the standards themselves do prescribe specific schedules for both the intermediary and full drain and interior inspections of tanks. So in 12R1, you'll find that under Annex B, and it's available in our office downtown if you need to take a look at that. You know, one of the pieces that we want to let operators know is that if they're not currently conducting monthly inspections with either their is like an operator personnel, that is prescribed in across all three inspection standards that those need to happen at least monthly. And then the more extended period or the more extended interval inspections, those can be anywhere between 5 and upwards of 20 years. So those are a little more prescriptive and data driven based on the tank's base or bottom thickness and wall thickness. So that's really more of a data driven approach, and it's a little more intensive, but conducting those monthlies is the big thing that's covered there. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Greg, you can go ahead on your announcement on metal analysis and reduced analyte lists.
Thank you, Jenny. Good morning, Greg Duranlo, Environmental Manager at UCMC. Just this a quick announcement in an effort to improve our internal consistency. We've taken a look at how we're handling metals analysis and the Rule 915E provision for a reduced analyte list. And we found that there has been some inconsistency there. And so we are going to kind of go back to the basics with that. So the starting point for facility decommissioning and spill or release cleanup is always going to be the full Table 915-1 suite. And that is the standard. And then it's up to the operator to basically make a sufficient case that a reduction in the analyte list is appropriate and still remains protective of public health, safety, welfare, the environment, and wildlife resources. So there are certainly cases where a reduced analyte list is appropriate. But what we don't want to see in the Form 19 or Form 27 is, just a boilerplate type of, we've used this reasoning for reducing the analyte suite before, and so we're using it here again. It has to be a site-specific analysis that demonstrates that the full Table 915-1 suite is not necessary. You do need to get approval from the director prior to, receiving especially closure on a site without the full 915-1 suite. And so in some cases, you may need to collect samples and hold them, to make sure that you get that approval. The holding time for metals shouldn't be a problem with that. And so just as this is kind of rolled out among our staff, you may start getting more questions from our EPS staff, or you may start seeing COAs that the full suite is required. And so just as we roll this out, bear with us. And if you have questions or concerns as to how this is being applied over the next month or so, as we roll out the
a more consistent approach to this. Don't hesitate to, follow up with the EPS or follow up with their supervisor, or come to me with questions or concerns as to how this is rolled out. So that's it. Just again, the starting point is always the full 915-1 suite, and it's up to the operator to make the case for a reduced analyte suite. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. That is all of our presentations. So we're going to go ahead and move towards questions. So I'll just start by reading them in order. First up is, do COI submitted after April 30th for the Form 1B now need to be resubmitted? Do they need to go in via another Form 1B? I believe that would be for Deb.
No, do not submit a new Form 1B. Please just email your revised certificates or mail them, and email them to Debbie Lutz. And we don't need to do it through the Form 1B. We just take the revised ones individually through email or mail.
Okay, awesome. The next question, again for Deb. Should you send out a notice for the name change so we can forward this to the insurance company and our accounting people? We need all the information on how to do this.
Yes, I can put together an email and send it out.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, next question. Can you please elaborate on the scenario where an operator submitted its cert of liability Form 3 and associated bonds prior to the ECMC name change? And those materials have not been yet processed? Do we mail a revised cert of liability independent of that process?
Yes, for the certificates of liability insurance, yes, if they say COGCC is a certificate holder, we'll need to have a revised one sent in. You can flag it for Debbie that it is associated with a new registration packet or with the Form 3. She handles all Form 3s and Form 3As. So I would just highlight that you've already resubmitted a packet to her and that this is additional information.
Awesome, thank you. Steve, we have a request of providing those regulations on a slide. I believe that would be Stephen Schwartz or Steve Wheeler.
That's probably me. And it looks like Elise was actually able to get Anita's question answered there, and that'd be API 653, API 12R1, and Steel Tank Institute's SP001. For those that didn't take a quick note as I rattled those out. So, but we don't post the actual the actual standards themselves, right? That's something that that we do make available if in both the state library and in our downtown office, though, if any operators need to come and take a look at those.
Oh, thank you. Let me see here. We said that the standards are now available are not available on the public website. You will get them uploaded. Perfect. Can you please provide an update on the Form 7W as ECMC is requiring operators to submit July data?
Yeah, I'll take that, Jenny. Yeah, thanks for that question. So I don't have anything new to report. Our team is still working on the development. There's been no issues brought forward with respect to the data collection template that we put forward at the last month's operator meeting. I have received some questions in the intervening time, and we've been kind of cataloging those, and we'll update the Q&A from the last meeting with the questions that we've received. Most of them were things that were covered in the announcement that I made last month. One unique question that came up, and it was, what if we're sending water to an out-of-state disposal facility? The form will take either numbers or text to describe the facility. But if it's a number, we will check it and make sure that that facility number is an ECMC facility. So if it's going out of state, then either leave it blank or use a text field like out of state or to New Mexico or something like that. Also CDPHE facility, like if they have a facility ID, that won't square in our system. So that was sort of the only question that I think wasn't addressed in my training. So that's where we're at. We're still looking forward to trying to roll it out September 1st.
Awesome, thank you. Next question. Greg, again, if a reduced analyte suite for an open spill has already been approved, will those approvals still stand?
Yeah, if that was affirmatively approved by ECMC staff, then we will stand by that approval. I also want to, acknowledge that it's not just for spills. This also applies to facility closures, and that's where, operators may find that they can, look at the fluids that have gone through the facilities and determine, kind of on the front end of a facility closure that it's appropriate to, request a reduced analyte suite and provide the supporting information for that request.
Awesome, perfect. Next question, any update on Form 3C? Go ahead, Chris. No, I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Thanks, Jenny. I couldn't unmute myself. So to answer that question, we are unfortunately behind schedule with that, and I am looking at now the end of this month before it'll be available. That's conservative. It might be the end of the third week in August. But in the meantime, for anyone needing to request release of a bond, they can reach out to Debbie and sort of use the old approach and process for asking for a bond release request. So, so that's coming in a few more weeks.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Let's see. Another question. I wanted to confirm that out of service tanks and process vessels are not required to be annually tested per 609.c. I think Elise answered that question, but if you want to say it for the whole group, please.
Oh, yes. So 609C basically is saying what should happen when you do take a tank out of service. Basically, you need to isolate and disconnect it from the sources of produced fluids, depressurize it, evacuate it, apply slots, and then equip the openings with any screens to prevent wildlife or birds or bats from entering the tank. And you should consult any of the applicable tank standards for inspections. That's all I have.
Awesome, thank you. Next question, does ECMC intend to conduct a rulemaking in order to capture the requirements of the bill associated with the new Form 7W?
I guess that's a question for me. It doesn't appear that it is necessary based on the existing rules that we have. We think the rules sufficiently support the statute and are pretty clear on the data that is needed to be collected.
Awesome. I think we have another one for you, Greg. Form 7W disposal volumes should agree to Form 7 produce volumes. How are operators to handle produced water sitting in tanks prior to disposal? Water is not necessarily produced and disposed in the same month.
Yeah, and I think that will be addressed when we develop the location reporting. So we recognize that it's not going to be a barrel for barrel equivalency across the system. So we would look, but we will see where that water is being stored, whether that's in tanks or a pit facility. We would see where that water is going when we look at the location reporting that's also required. So we don't expect a 1-for-1 equivalency. I guess that's the short answer.
Okay, thank you, Greg. I am not seeing any other questions, but I think we want to clarify, Elise, about publishing certain things on the website. I feel like there was some confusion on that regarding some standards.
Oh, so the guidances that we covered this morning, it turns out they're available on our internal website, but they're just not available on the external site. So we need to get them uploaded to the external site, and we'll do that as soon as possible.
Elise, is that the guidance or is that the actual API?
Oh, these are the guidances. I misspoke in the chat. It's the operator guidances that Steve and I discussed today.
Yeah, thank you, because there's some confusion there. We can't publish that guidance.
That's correct. Yes, I'm
Or
sorry.
not the guidance, I'm sorry, we can't publish the API standards.
Okay, yes, yeah. Thank you.
Alrighty, I'll let anyone else chat in any questions, but that is all for now. Thank you so much for coming. We will have our next operator meetings every second Tuesday of the month. And then if you have any other questions or concerns, you can always email me, and here is my email right on the screen for you. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions, so we are going ahead and adjourn. Thank you so much. Have a great day.